The story begins on April 15th, 1912, just moments before the Titanic would sink to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Two people, a man and his son, both from third class, were trying to get onto the last lifeboat and escape, but one of the crew members refused to let them on, saying the lifeboat was already full, even though it was only half full. Sadly, only first-class passengers were allowed to leave. The ship began to sink even faster, and people were desperately trying to find a way to escape, but there was nowhere to run. The father grabbed his son and told him to be brave, saying that his mother was looking after them from heaven and would protect them. The father and son both jumped into the freezing water, trying to stay afloat as the current was pulling them down. Suddenly, a bright light shone upon them. Out of nowhere, the archangel Gabriel appeared, and the son thought his mother had sent him to save them. The story then jumps to the present, with Spawn exploring New York Harbor, remarking that humans spend their days moving around like nothing matters, caring only about their own lives and nothing else. Humans are so gullible, a bunch of suckers that heaven and hell can easily take advantage of, but Spawn intends to fight back. Out of nowhere, a young woman approached him and said she was looking for him. Spawn knew who she was, a messenger sent by Satan himself, but she wasn't human. She was a demon from hell, and her true form could be seen in reflections. Satan had recently killed Spawn's ex-wife, Wanda, because he wasn't following orders and being a good hell spawn. He had even spoken to God himself, which went against the rules. The demon claimed that Satan and God want the same things: power, respect, human obedience, and the total annihilation of their mortal enemy. But at least, Satan is more truthful about who he is. The demon asked Spawn to visit the Titanic Museum with her and talk more, saying that if he ever wanted to get Wanda back, he should play along. She asked him if he knew how time works, claiming that hell invented it, even though God likes to take half the credit. The demon claimed they could manipulate time as they pleased, saying that after Spawn died, he came back 5 years later, even though for him it only seemed like a few seconds. She offered to show him a small demonstration and snapped her fingers, teleporting both of them to 1912, arriving on the Titanic. The father and son from before were walking on the deck when the son approached Spawn and asked him some questions. Sadly, they were just moments away from disaster, as two crewmen who were on lookout failed to spot the giant icebergs floating in the water and sounded the alarm. The archangel Gabriel appeared again and told Spawn that the bells were the sound of the disaster about to come. Gabriel said that if Spawn wanted to bring back his wife, Wanda, he would need to undo the past, but at a great price. Was Spawn willing to pay that price? Gabriel wanted Spawn to prove he was a hero by preventing the Titanic from sinking and saving the people from dying. The events from before were repeating once again. The ship began to take on water and sink quickly. The father and son were desperately trying to board the lifeboat, but they were denied access. Although watching this unfold was difficult, Spawn knew how it all ended, and he didn't want to help. The father and son made the same decision a second time, jumping into the freezing water together. Gabriel appeared before them and said he was their savior and offered to help them, but Spawn intervened, saying Gabriel was lying to them. He hadn't come to save them, he had come to torture them. Gabriel, furious, attacked Spawn, sending both of them inside the hull of the ship. Spawn asked him to leave them alone, saying Gabriel had no right to decide their fate, and called him a liar while punching him in the face. Spawn watched as the father and son slowly froze to death, sinking to the bottom of the ocean. He remarked that all of this was a con, and though he truly wanted to help them, he shouldn't interfere. They both needed to die. Spawn knew this was all a trick from Satan, because changing the past would likely change the future as well. Perhaps this very action would prevent him from ever meeting Wanda, marrying her, and wanting to save her, thus sealing her fate. It was all a test, and Spawn didn't want to participate or give Satan the satisfaction. The demon that had brought Spawn into the past snapped her fingers and teleported him back to the present. She remarked that she was impressed he didn't take the bait. Her master had warned her that he wouldn't. Even so, the demon wanted to offer Spawn something he couldn't refuse. Another deal with the devil.